All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. It is the final day of the roster Bloodbath. It started swiftly yesterday. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to recap it. A little bit of news and rumors. Not much right now. It is all cut day stuff today. So a lot of repeat. Who's next? Tim Patrick. Does he make sense? There's some people talking about it. And of course, what's up next? Fourth 53-man roster predictions for the rest of the day. Where are they going to slot in or slot out, I should say? And good morning, Eric. How are you today?
I am absolutely super fantastic today. And you want to know why, Will? Because I've been waiting for months for something to come, and it finally came yesterday. One of the things was my new rake straw jersey. I got a black rake straw jersey, right? Well, check this out. I got a custom Detroit Lions suit jacket.
There you go. That's great. That's funny, man. Yeah. You should have got one with your face all over it.
Yeah, I could have done that too. But this thing is absolutely awesome. It's got Lions logos everywhere and football helmets and a lion coming at you with a football uniform on and stuff. Hold the football. It's pretty awesome.
All right. Well, I'm going to roll into the main screen here. I want to see if I can see the chat. So we should have the chat rolling in there this morning. So shout out to Elizabeth LaValle. She bought a $15 donation yesterday to the Rock On Cancer Foundation. Appreciate your support. And Fonzie34, a new member of the day, joined last night sometime. So Fonzie34, thank you for joining the channel memberships. Remember, if you want to do channel memberships, that is through YouTube. And Buy Me a Coffee is other opportunities for you guys to either donate to the channel, support the Rock On Cancer Foundation, and other items that we pop up there for raffles and things like that throughout the season. But we have the chat rolling in on the screen now. A little bit of a change. I'm trying to make a few changes for the season. So just bear with me. It'll be changed a little bit probably after today. But yeah, Eric, I like that suit jacket, man. That's great.
Yeah. So when I do interviews now, yeah, I'm all set. I'm ready to go. I figure, man, if this thing doesn't get me on TV, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I mean, you're on TV every day.
Well, I know, but I mean big TV. You know, during the game, I want them to, zoom in on me just one time at the game.
You got to be up front, man. You got to be on the border.
I am. I'm sitting in the first 3 games. I'm sitting in the perfect spot to get on TV. So I'm going to make it happen. I got some other things coming that are going to make it even better for me to get on TV.
It's great. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Let me find my other chat here because it's hiding on me. I can't read the screen. So I did want to review, I think, Dan Campbell's press conference a little bit from yesterday. And we might bring that in. Where'd my chat go? I just had it up. It keeps parking behind OBS here. Maybe I just need to move OBS out of the way.
And Michael Garrity, I will be wearing this to the Tampa Bay game, just so you know. He's going with me, so he wanted to make sure I'm wearing this.
There you go. All right, so let's see who we have in the chat this morning. It's been lively morning already. Of course, we got Ryan Van Valkenburg, Uperlights. Shout out to Ryan, member of the channel. Roger Olowski, member of the channel. Who else is in here? Mike P, member of the channel. Trace. Who else? We got Roger Olowski. I think I mentioned him already. Michael Garrity, Roger Chappis, Wayne Rogers, Steve K. Members and mods of the channel, good morning. And of course, we've got Salty Pork Chops, Zachary Cleary, Buzz, that's a new name. Full State Farms is back in the house. Broski Bear's in, member of the channel.
Broski, you missed me unveiling my new jacket. You got here a little too late.
Elizabeth LaValle's in the house this morning. And let's see here. Jack 2125. I mean, there's a full slate of people in this morning, like full slate farms.
Yeah, we got 55 already. We should have 50 likes already, right?
That's correct. We got Let's Go Lions in the house. So just so you guys know, each and every day, I'll give you a little bit of a reminder. No ads. We trade quid pro quo. Your like for no ads. We don't run ads. We want to make sure that you get a seamless experience in the morning when we're talking about our Detroit Lions. All season long, that's how we roll it. There will be a few live shows from time to time that we have to run ads on. It could be like post-game stuff or pre-game stuff. It just depends on what we have going on. But there's some things that we do have to run ads on just to keep YouTube happy. But the large majority of it is ad-free.
Hey, if I'm not mistaken, you hit another milestone for subscriptions last night, correct?
Yeah. We finally hit the 5,500 last night, which means that we're going to be giving away a helmet at some point. There'll be a pop-up live, so make sure that you have your notifications turned on. And when I do the pop-up live, then you will be in the running that day to win the signed helmets, either Panay Sewell or Chris Spielman. So thank you for everyone that subscribed last night. We had quite a few subscribers in the last day or so. Quite a few.
Look at that. Michael Garrity with the super chat. Smash the like button, everybody.
Appreciate that, Michael. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support. We got Lionized in the house. We got Lions 313. Appreciate you, man. Says, love your show, guys. We love you showing up. We got Decker Pecker in the house. Motown Mitch. Dixie. I'm not doing it. Not doing it today. Not doing it, Dixie. That's funny. All right, let's get to wrapping on what happened yesterday. So here's a quick recap. And I did it last night. Obviously, we were in a show last night talking about what was going on, hoping to see, if there was going to be, more cuts, but it seems like, the Lions were fine with what they did yesterday. And after I listened to Dan Campbell's press conference again, they've got some hard decisions to make. And you can tell that, this is very difficult on him. And I think I'm going to roll into the Dan Campbell press conference here in just a minute. But Monday, here's what happened. The Lions waived or cut long snapper Scott Daly, defensive lineman Pat O'Connor, linebacker Ty Summers, edge Mitchell Agood, inside outside lineman Brian Hudson, cornerback Rashad Wild Goose, running back Zonovan Knight, tight end Shane Zielstra, wide receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones, wide receiver Caden Davis. And then they also placed cornerback Emmanuel Mosley on the IR to return, and Christian Mahogany on NFI NFI reserve to start the season. And then on Sunday they activated DJ Reader. There is currently, as of right now, unless any cuts have happened, there's 78 players currently on the roster, which means 25 of those 78 will be cut today before 4 p.m. My question is, and has been, who was your most surprising cut from yesterday?
Zielstra.
And what is going to be your most surprising cut today, do you think?
Ooh.
I think that's a good question to get us just started off with. I think a lot of people are a little miffed at the Zielstra thing here, because if James Mitchell sticks to this roster, like I said last night, does that speak to any of this, ego that, some unnamed source around the league is saying that Brad Holmes has an ego about his draft picks? That he's keeping his draft picks and he doesn't care what they've done. He's just going to ride with them because he has to be right. Quoting this other person, subquoting this other person.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing, I should say. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the case or if, he just sees something different.
Listen, if you put in the work and you're the GM of the Lions, you've watched everything this kid did all through college. You saw something in them that no one else did. You draft them, you bring them here, and you cultivate them for 3 or 4 years. And then you have to make the hard decision whether to cut this person or not. They're just not quite up to snuff, or they're just barely on the line. And what's the deciding factor? And listen, sometimes the deciding factor is I drafted this guy, so maybe he sticks around. And sometimes it's the other guy's just a little bit better, so he doesn't stick around, because there's not too many Brad Holmes draft picks that aren't still around, but I predicted 3 or 4 of them get cut this year.
So what do you mean there's not too many Brad Holmes draft picks still around?
No, there's quite a few still around is what I'm saying.
Oh, all of them are. All of them, but yeah, all of them are around.
Well, only a few of them have went on, because the one kid went over to San Francisco that we drafted.
That was this offseason, yeah.
Yeah. He's the only one that's gone so far. But I think Jefferson's going to be gone. I think Mitchell's going to be gone. Who was the other one?
So here's my thought on James Mitchell. So he was drafted in 2022. He came in with an ACL, pretty much didn't do anything in his first year, right? Mm-hmm. Was he drafted in 22? He was drafted in 22.
Yeah.
And definitely wasn't a 21 guy, was he? It was a 22.
I thought it was second year.
Yeah, it was second year. So if you go by Brad Holmes' method to his madness, he says you got to give me 3 years, right? Yeah. Don't judge my players for 3 years. So this is the third year. This is the third season for James Mitchell. And I guess if we're going by Brad Holmes' math, this is the year that James Mitchell has a good year, a decent year, however you're going to define it, in a tight end room that is top heavy. You know, between Brock Wright and Sam Laporta. I mean, how good can he really do when you're not going to get a ton of targets? I think that for me, it has to be an efficiency rating where he has to be extremely efficient, like catching every ball that's thrown his way. Every opportunity, he's got to be able to snag it and do something with it. Unlike last season, you know, he was targeted a couple of times and like this. I think there was the second. Was it the second 2-point attempt against the Cowboys that was thrown at James Mitchell? I think it was a bad ball more so than...
hit him in the hands, though.
Yeah, see, you should have caught it then. If it touches your hand, you got to catch it. I'm sorry.
Both of his hands.
So there you go. There's an example. But he really only had then last year was his first real season getting a ton of action. You know, coming in his first season, he probably didn't have any time spent in training camp if he's still rehabbing that ACL. So I guess that's my thoughts. This is the third season for James Mitchell. It's possible that Brad Holmes wants to see it through. He wants to see that third season.
And kind of the same thing with Jefferson, but he's been cut a bunch of times and brought back on the practice squad. I kind of think that might be what happens with him again this year.
I got to check my volume levels real quick. Check your volume levels real quick, Eric.
Oh, you got that automatic thing going again?
Yep. I don't know why it keeps doing it.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I noticed that was hitting you last night when the phone calls were coming in.
Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, it's got that speaker on again. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Uh-oh. We don't want you sounding like everybody says you sound good. So we just don't want you sounding like you're in a hallway again.
I just got to quick connected my computer to a Bluetooth speaker because it just takes it over.
Yep.
All right. Should be good now if it wasn't before.
Awesome.
Okay. What else is on the roster today? There's really just not much happening, but I think we could talk about Tim Patrick here for a moment.
Yeah, I got a few wide receivers to talk about if you'd like to get into that.
We'll do it right here with Tim. With Tim A. Let's talk about Tim Patrick here. So pros and cons of wide receiver Tim Patrick joining the Detroit Lions. You know, is there an opportunity here? There's definitely a relationship here between the Lions and the Broncos. So you would think that the Lions would have an inside track on Tim Patrick. And you know that the Lions front office and scouting department has their fingers reaching wide right now, trying to find as much opportunity for the Lions to bring in good quality players post the cuts. And Tim Patrick's name's been flying around. I mean, he definitely fits the bill. He fits the bill for what the Lions are looking for. And the Broncos have significant wide receiver depth all of a sudden this year. One of our players, former players, Josh Reynolds, and they are moving on from their veteran Tim Patrick. So they're exploring trade possibilities for Patrick, who's generating a lot of strong interest on the market or in the market in advance of what is the cut down deadline today. So if a deal is not done today, it sounds like Patrick's probably going to be cut.
Yep.
And what did I say yesterday? What did I say yesterday about trades? If you try to call somebody up in the 48 hours before the cut deadline and say, hey, what do you give me for Tim Patrick? Here's my answer. Depending on where I am in the waiver wire, so the Lions don't have the benefit of the waiver wire because they're 27th.
Yeah.
If I was up near the top, top 2, 3, 4 teams, and you look at those teams and they don't need a wide receiver, I'd be like, yeah, just wait till tomorrow. Put in a waiver claim. I don't know how he's a veteran too, so really I don't think he has to hit waivers then. Honestly, if he's a veteran, he doesn't need to hit waivers. He can pick and choose where he wants to go.
Yeah.
So Tim Patrick, let's take a look at some of his stats. And let's talk about this guy for a minute.
Yeah, there's a couple people in the chat saying they don't think that Tim Patrick is going to be healthy. He's like Emmanuel Mosley. Every time he hits the field, he gets hurt. Well, the last 2 seasons, he did get hurt. But before that, man, that guy was a beast. He was really good. Uh-oh, now I have an echo. Jeez, Pete.
I don't hear an echo. You should be good.
Yeah, let's hope not. But Tim Patrick, he fits the bill. Listen, this guy's 6'4", 212 pounds.
He's got 7 seasons in the NFL.
Yeah, and in the preseason, he had 5 receptions. He was 5 for 5, caught everything that went his way for 44 yards and a touchdown. That's the kind of guy we need, somebody that catches everything that's thrown his way, right? That's what we're looking for, a big-bodied guy that can catch. That's what we need. And, you look at his career stats, his average is 14 yards and per catch. His long is 61 yards. He's only had 2 fumbles in his career and only lost 1 fumble in his entire career. Who does that sound like? Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of guy. Doesn't put the ball on the floor very often. So, in my eyes, I don't see anything wrong with this guy because he seems to be healthy right now.
Yeah, the only thing that I see is the, the thing that we always see, which is injuries. And
yeah,
hold on here. So someone was mentioning or asking if they were blocked. No, nobody should be blocked, especially if you're a member of the channel. So as long as you're a member of the channel, you shouldn't be blocked at all. Subscriber mode was on a little earlier, but if you're a member, you're clearly a subscriber.
Yeah.
I'm not real sure. Unless someone, I guess I'm going to have to check. But yeah, Peter, no, you shouldn't be. I'm gonna double check to make sure someone didn't do something that they shouldn't have, and then figure out who did that if they did.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that I see with Tim Patrick. 2022, he suffered a torn ACL in August. So just before the season kicks off, he suffers an ACL. Then he comes back the next season. He gets through training camp, or he starts, going through training camp, or at least a summer portion of training camp. And then he gets a pedal, Achilles tear, grade 3. It was non-contact injury. And I keep seeing this from guys coming back from Achilles injury. Something else happens. and I said it with Emmanuel Mosley, and I've said it with other players too. I feel like they're taking their eyes off their whole body. If you suffer an injury on the right side, not only do you have to rehab the right side, but you also have to make sure that you keep the left side intact and that you don't overwork the left side. Overworking the left side can create another injury, and I think that that's probably what happened with Tim, possibly. I mean, injuries can be freak things just as they are, but a non-contact injury means that thing was about to go at some point. And I don't like to see somebody with those types of injuries back to back to back because it's another Emmanuel Mosley. What's the risk? Is the risk too high to bring somebody in, with his age? Could be. I mean, he's not extremely old, but he's been in the league for 7 seasons. What I do like about Tim Patrick is before he was injured, he started to really come on as a player. He had 2 out of 4 seasons, the last 2 seasons, where he was averaging 50 balls a year. He was getting targeted about 80 times a year. So it's a pretty good catch rate. He was almost dead even, the last 2 seasons, about 740 yards, averaging 5.5 TDs, a couple of long balls, 61 and 44, no fumbles lost. And to me, that's the production that we're looking for, even out of our number 2 at this point. I would be satisfied with that production. I think Jameson can do more, but to have a guy like that, if he can produce those types of numbers, which I think is going to be unlikely coming back from a second major injury in his first season, and then not going through camp with Jared Goff, I think that the deck is stacked against you, in my opinion. If he was not injured, not coming back from injury, then yeah, I would say that there's a better chance that he lands on this team. So I think that Tim Patrick's not going to be a Detroit Lion. There's just no way, in my opinion. But then again, Brad Holmes brings these guys in that are injured because they're cheap and plans for them next year, not so much this year, when a lot of Lions fans right now are thinking that we need help right now. We need help this year. And I would argue against that to a degree. I think that once you get past the third wide receiver on this team, good luck getting targets, because there's not going to be many balls to go around after you get past Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. There's just not much left. There's not much meat left on the bone. So I wouldn't say that we definitely need somebody. We need someone because we need the room to be filled. We need someone that can step up in the event that someone gets hurt. Absolutely. But we don't need someone to really produce a large amount of numbers this year that isn't already on the roster. That's just my opinion. But I'll let you take it away for a minute while I research a member here and see what the heck's going on.
Okay. So I respect your opinion, Will. But my opinion differs on this one. Usually I am not the guy that wants to get the free agent. I kind of laugh at other fans that want every single free agent that becomes available. And I always say they're not going to the Lions. They're not going to the Lions. Well, this is the one time in the last couple of years that I can remember that I truly, absolutely want this guy. And the reason I want this guy is for what Will was just saying. We don't need a guy to come in and be super productive. We need a guy to come in and fill a role in the room. And when he's called upon, and when we do have a 3rd and 12, and Jared Goff does throw him the one ball during a game, he catches the damn ball. We need a guy that can catch the ball. And that's what I like about Tim Patrick. He doesn't put balls on the ground. He catches basically everything thrown his way. And before he got injured, so he was injured the last 2 years, before he got injured, he had what I call the it factor. The guy was electric with the football in his hands. That makes me want to get this guy. Somebody said, so you need a Tom Kennedy? No, not a Tom Kennedy. Tom Kennedy, when called upon, does not catch the big 3rd and 12 over the top above someone else 50-50 contested ball. He's a tiny guy. We have a bunch of tiny guys on our team. We need that one big, tall, 6'4" go up and get the ball in the corner of the end zone guy. So like Will was saying earlier, James Mitchell, he dropped the 2-point conversion that could have won us a game. And lo and behold, here's someone that would have caught the 2-point conversion in my eyes. That's the type of player I want, is someone that we can rely on when needed, that has the bigger body, that can go up over someone else and catch the damn ball. Something we haven't had in forever. And just to me, this guy fits the mold. Now, there's a couple other guys that also are out there that have been thrown up into the mix, and they're not quite as tall as Tim Patrick, but there's a couple names that have been getting thrown around, like Mitchie from Houston. But Mitchie, he's only 5'10". I don't think he fits the mold or what we're looking for. And then the Texans also have another guy, Noah Brown. He's 6'2", 225 pounds. I wouldn't be opposed to this kid too much, but I think that's a little bit of a reach. I don't think he's going to be available like some of the people think he's going to be available. And then there's a couple other ones. There was Darius Slayton from the Giants, who I don't think is a bad receiver all that much, but he's only 6'1". And then there was one other one, Terrace Marshall Jr. from the Panthers, and he is 6'2", 200 pounds. And the thing they were saying about this kid was that he was drafted by a different regime and doesn't fit the mold of what they're doing now. So maybe a possibility of a cut guy that we could bring in that would be, maybe just a practice squad type of guy, in my opinion.
All right, I'll be just one more second, but I didn't notice anybody being blocked or anything, so everyone should be good to go. I'm not sure why one individual is having some difficulty.
Just can't get into the chat.
Yeah, I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. Depending on what device you're on, sometimes when you go to the main screen for the live event, you got to swipe to the right to get into the live chat portion. I know iPad looks way different than Samsung phones, and yeah, so not real sure what the issue is.
Very strange.
I got one other thing here I got to take a look at. So let's roll into Dan Campbell's press conference here. I want to listen to it one more time. We'll stop it and talk about it as well. I think that a lot of things that Dan Campbell was talking about yesterday, are going to reign true today. We're going to see some guys that we don't want to lose today, and it's really tough to watch this stuff go down. But let's recap what Dan Campbell had to say, and we'll do that right now. If I can get it open. There we go.
Tough time of year. Brad and I kind of had our first discussions last night. We're going to continue here after this. So I'm not going to be able to give you any updates on that regard. Brad will speak to you. Brad and Ray will speak to you. I know Thursday is the plan once everything is set. But, just one more time, the appreciation we have for these guys that laid it on the line, gave everything they had. And, a number of these guys, man, the lost art of, when your body doesn't feel good, you got the bumps and bruises, and for those guys that can continue to just push, those guys, it means a lot. It really does. Because that's what this game is. It's still a physical game, and you have to be able to put that stuff behind you and still produce. So, tough 48 hours coming up, but really appreciate these guys.
Is there any place in particular, position one or two, that you're finding is maybe more difficult? Not naming specific players or anything, but a position group where you and Brad are just going back and forth, maybe things change?
Not really. I feel like we're, for the most part, it's.
They have some funny feedback on their audio.
I think there's things that he and I both are, let's sleep on this, as of last night, a couple of things. I don't want to get into what those positions are or who they are, but I would say I do feel like we're very much on the same page, and we're both very much, let's make sure we both feel this way when we wake up and we talk later. So it's good. I mean, it's a good process. He and I, here we go, man, we're on year 4 of this. So, we got a pretty good feel of each other here.
Meaning the roster has evolved to the point where you can't just be a special teams player. Like you have to have some other value. And I know special teams are still important to some of those spots, a lot of those spots. Can you just maybe speak to that discussion, I guess, like how do you distinguish between what a guy can do on defense and what you need from him on special teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're, ultimately, I look at, man, the guy's going to the game, so how much is he playing? But there's value there. How many snaps are we going to get? So if you're strictly special teams and you're a backup position player, you're a backup corner, safety, well, I know you're going to play 25, 30 plays. If you're a core guy, that's a lot. Like you can touch the game. I mean, you have an impression on the game, and we're not even talking about your position on defense or offense. So that has a bearing, but yet if you feel like you're, maybe we've got injuries or we're a little bit light in an area, then all of a sudden the priority has to be more defense than special teams at that time.
So I think that's a great point about what Dan is saying. So for all the last 3 years, what have we heard out of these guys? Like you're not going to make this team unless you play special teams. Now it's getting to a point where special teams is not the marker anymore. Now they want guys that can play. At least that's how I took that. Yes, special teams is very important. You can't just be a one-trick pony and not play special teams. You have to be able to do both. But I feel like now they're looking at this like, okay, we've got some injuries here. We're a little light there, but we need playmakers at their positions. Like we can get greedy now. We don't need guys that can just fill the field, so to speak. And I think where the Lions started, if you go all the way back to 2021, I mean, they scrapped an entire team. They were left with literally 15% of the original crew from 2020, the original roster. And that, I mean, that's a heavy burden, right? That is a big mountain to climb. There's a lot of shoes to fill. And what did the Lions need? And you can kind of look at the draft every single season and what Brad and Dan did, and it painted a really good picture. They needed multiples. They needed guys that were versatile, that were multiple, that could do all these different things because they had to fill so many different slots on this team. Now, as you grow into your 4th draft, your 4th season, now they can be a little bit more picky. Nope, I need a number 1 cornerback. I need a guy that can just go in and lock it down in the pass game. Maybe he's not as good against the run, which thankfully we don't have that issue. But I need someone that can go in and just lock it down in the pass game. Linebackers, and you're looking at Jack Campbell, he's kind of a utility guy. I mean, he can do pretty much anything you need him to do, but what is he going to do this year? Where are they going to fit him this year? What is his primary role really going to be? It's going to be this triangle, and you're going to fit this triangle, and you're going to stop this triangle. You're going to defend this triangle. That's it. I don't need you over here. I don't need you over here. I need you right here. And you're going to see that with guys that we're going to pick up after cuts. You're going to see that with guys that we're picking up, possibly before the trade deadline. Is now they're getting into guys, good quality players on this team that don't have to be as versatile as maybe they needed to be before. And they're really starting to kind of hone it in now with guys that they can be selective about. And I think that is totally going to transform this team quicker to having better results on the field. Any thoughts on that, Eric, before I hit play again?
Yeah. So what do you think that means about James Houston? Does he fit into that mold?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a super specialist, right? So he's a pass rusher. I think that, you know, you have a guy that can go in and shut down, you know, the passer on 3rd and 4th down if they get to a 4th down. He is someone that can set the edge. I think that James can set the edge just fine, but he's not somebody that, he's not going to wear 4 or 5 different hats. You know, he's not going to play every down. But I mean, yeah, I think it speaks to everything that I was just talking about. That if you need someone that is just a pass rusher, I mean, you cannot ignore his efficiency. You can't. There's no way you can.
Yep.
At least in my opinion, I wouldn't. He's made it this far. This is his 3rd season. He's gone through a major injury, and he's battled back, and he's already shown us, you know, in the preseason game this last weekend that he can still do it. And he registered the fastest sack of the season so far.
Houston was what, a 5th or 6th round pick? 6th?
I think he was a 6th, but right in that range, 5th, 6th.
So he was a draft pick by. I know we cut him the first year and then had to bring him back and re-sign him and all that. So his contract's a little funky.
6th round, 217. Yeah, his contract was funky. They kind of threw everybody for a loop there because when he was cut and then he came back, he was only on a 2-year and not a 4-year.
Yep.
So they had to kind of redo his contract this past season. Look, if they redid his contract and brought him back, I think that tells you enough.
Yep.
You know, Joseph Ostin says 1-trick pony is okay if the trick is sacks.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, man. You know, I think that, okay, so Hostage 42 also mentions keeping Betts in Houston, period. So Betts is a little bit more multiple. You know, even though his coverage is developing, it's something that they've thrown at him. You know, let's see what you can do in coverage. He's another guy that is kind of a pure pass rusher. Mm-hmm. I would say if there was a decision to be made between Houston or Betts, it's Houston. You're going to keep him. If that's what they're looking at, like Houston is a pass rusher, Betts is a pass rusher. We can't keep 2 because we need someone else, you know, available to do multiple things. That's where Betts could get, you know, edged out. But right now I still feel like Betts is on this roster. Let's see what else you had to say.
Ideally, you want, you know, you like the young, promising upside of a player in a position group that you feel like brings value to special teams because they can grow, right? They'll only get better in that position. So I think you got to take it as it is in each position group. Where are you at? Where's the depth? Is anybody injured? And can the kid continue to grow?
Fixated on the wide receiver battle all camp, and I know you've said you've waited for a guy to kind of step up and grab that brass ring, if you will. We get in the habit of practice watching the ball. You know, we don't get to see all the film. Where have some of those guys maybe stood out where we've kind of missed some of the nuance with them?
Well, look, DPJ. First of all, DPJ and Fountain both, man, they're big guys, right? They are big receivers. They got length to them, and for their size, they can run pretty good. You know, so there's that element of that. Can you play big boy ball outside red zone? That comes into play, and so if you don't have it, sometimes you feel, you know, you do feel a little small. You feel like it would be nice to have the size, and so, you know, you wish that would show up a lot more, but that's what those two guys bring. You know, that's that type of flavor that you know, we talk about all the time. You would love to have a little bit of everything. You know, you've got speed, you got quickness, you got the size, you got your gadget, you got, and so that's kind of them. You guys know what 83 is. I mean, it's shown up. I mean, the guy's, you know, he's made.
All right, so I'll pause it there. So talking about wide receivers from yesterday, and where does this kind of transition into today? What's going to happen the rest of the day with cuts? You know, I think Dan, you know, they asked if he was fixated on the wide receiver, you know, depth here or the wide receiver room and kind of the battle that's been going on all year. And he mentions Fountain and DPJ right away. And, you know, they got the bigger body, they got some length. It's guys that you want to see that, you know, can they play big boy ball? I mean, it's something that I've spoken about many times here, that we are missing that guy. We are missing the guy that can go up and challenge for the 50-50 ball. And I know it's not a ball that Jared Goff likes to throw, but there is going to come a point in time where you need a win, you need a play, you need a 2-point conversion, you need something, you need a first down. You might have to throw it. You might be in a tough spot, but if you got a guy that can go up and get it, that can body the guy in front of him, box him out, and catch the ball, well, we need that. It's not every game. It's not every quarter. It may not even be every week. But when it's needed, it would sure be nice if the Lions had it. And then he also mentioned that when you don't have something like that, yeah, you kind of feel small. And that's what the Lions have been since 2021, one of the smallest wide receiver rooms in the NFL. And I'm not saying that it can't work, because we've seen it work so far with one guy, with Amon-Ra St. Brown. We've seen it work with him, but he also had Josh Reynolds with him this entire time that was taking away some of the pressure, you know, in whether he was a decoy or whether he was a guy that was utilized, you know, on deeper routes to kind of pull the defender over the top away from Amon-Ra St. Brown, so he could just kind of curl up into the middle and you know, he just lives, eats, and breathes over the middle. Amon-Ra St. Brown does. I think that Josh Reynolds provided that. And now you're still going to be able to see that with Jameson Williams because of what Dan Campbell just said. You need to have a little bit of everything. A guy with speed, a guy with length, a gadget guy, a guy with quickness. And you kind of have all of that in Jameson Williams. He may not be 6'2", 6'3", but I think his arms are especially long. Don't quote me here, but I'm pretty positive his wingspan is a few inches beyond where it should be based on his height. We still need a tall guy, though. We still need a taller wide receiver. I would like to see the Lions get into the top, 10 or 15 roster-wise as far as height in the wide receiver room, because we've always been near the bottom. We do need somebody. But I think that we have the guys that he just stated, right? We have Khalif Raymond. He's got short area quickness. He can be a little gadget guy. He can do the end arounds as well. He can take handoffs out of the backfield. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown that, he can do a little bit of everything. He doesn't have that quickness, right? That quick short step, but he does have speed. He does have elusive speed. Jameson, he's got long speed. He's got short speed. Definitely quick, in and out of his breaks. He's definitely shown a lot of growth this year with how he's running routes. So between those three guys, I think that we have enough mixture. It's just now, where are we going to add that fourth dimension? Who's going to be that guy that just takes us to the next step? You could utilize Sam Laporta. He kind of fits that mold, but we need a receiver that can, be the eyes away from everybody else. Someone that, the rest of the team or the rest of the defense not paying attention to. And that's what we're looking for. Any comments on that? You're muted. Hold on, buddy. You're muted on your side, not on my side. I got nothing from you. I don't know. Nothing. We'll keep rolling. I'll come back to you on that one.
Plays all camp. He's really kind of more of that slot, but
where'd he go?
He falls into the mode a little bit like St. Leaf, Tom Kennedy. They're all kind of in that, So, I think that's where it is, and that's what Brad and I are having to weigh here. Is there enough? Have we seen enough out of those guys to where we feel like we can use them or need to use them sooner than later? Or will they provide value?
So Ryan Van Valkenburg, man, that's a great point. So comment here by Ryan says, the comment by Dan about Fountain and DPJ is why I think the wow tweet is about. Maybe he got told, he being Fountain, that he was safe, as they knew that there was a a big battle going on there between him and DPJ. You might not be wrong here, Ryan. Therese Fountain may have done enough to make this roster. Joseph Olsen says Anquan Bolden would just box out the DB like a basketball play. He would. I remember when he came in late in that one season. I think it was pretty late in the one season. But Anquan was productive, even though he was old. I mean, he's relatively old for football age. He was relatively productive, even at his, elder statesman. I don't know what happened to Eric. He just kind of dropped out. Let me see if I can bring him back in here. All right, now he's back.
Can you hear me though?
Yeah, I've got volume now.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what you did, but I got to double check your audio settings real quick though. You're going to have to double check your audio settings because the auto gain control is always on when you come in.
Yep. Now we're good.
All right. So any response there to the statements that I was making on the wide receiver room, and then what Ryan Van Valkenburg just said, but maybe that wow tweet was Therese Fountain getting the, I'm safe kind of vibes.
Yeah, it's 50-50. I don't know if it's I'm safe or wow, I did so much in practice and now they're giving me the boot. But he didn't put a sad face. He didn't put a happy face. It just said wow.
Yeah.
So what the hell does that mean? Chalmers in the chat put that Isaiah Hodgins was just released by the New York Giants, and I looked into him a little bit here, and this kid is 6'3", 200 pounds, had three receptions for 17 yards and 0 touchdowns in the preseason. And a few people were talking about him in the chat, so I just looked him up real quick. And
yeah, I don't know enough about Isaiah to have a conversation about him at this point, but
I don't really know enough about him either. But hey, I'm sure Brad is keeping his eye open on all these different guys that are coming available right now, because you're going to have 80, 100 different wide receivers come available in the next day. And it might take 2, 3, 4 days before Brad makes up his mind. You never know.
Yeah, I just let me double check something. There's people saying that there's a echo, and there's
echo again.
There's no echo. I don't hear an echo.
Yeah. Well, we might just have to live with an echo. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I turned the desktop audio off, so hopefully they can still hear the screen.
Still hear Dan.
Yeah. Actually, I'll turn it back on. Okay, real quick here, though. I do got to take a quick ad break. Now, this is not a YouTube ad. This is a sponsor ad. It looks like we're about 26 likes away from 100. Do us a favor. By the time we get back from this sponsorship, let's get those likes up to 100 people. That'll help us. Here we go. The season is here, and you want the latest news and rumors on your Detroit Lions. Head to sportspider.com. That's sports, SPYDER.com, where you can get your Lions news and all your sports in one place. Man, this site is packed with your favorite podcasts, live news, articles from local writers, and insiders, all updating in real time. Not just the Lions, every major sports team, including MMA, UFC, and so much more. Don't want to waste time searching? Sign up for free. Create your ultimate sports news hub. You control what hits your feed at SportsSpider, your #1 source for all your sports. Visit SportSpider.com today, right after the show. Well, and we're back to the main scene here. So let me go into Dan Campbell for just a few more minutes, and then we'll end that part of the segment this morning. I just wanted to hear a little bit of what he had to say before the cuts, and allow you guys to hear it in case you didn't hear it yesterday, what he had to say before some of these cuts. So it's kind of fun to go back and listen, to see, did Dan tell us the truth? Was he being honest yesterday, or was he preparing us for what was going to happen? Or not that he has to do any of that, because he doesn't. He doesn't have to tell us anything. But I think that Dan has probably been one of the most transparent most down-to-earth coaches that I've ever seen in the NFL, ever. Before I roll back over, shout out to the Lost Angels, $4.99 super chat. Appreciate you. It says Brad is waiting for the cuts from the Houston Texans. They have a stacked wide receiver room that are all starters. Dude, you're not lying, man. Like they are loaded. You know who else is loaded right now is the Kansas City Chiefs. They had 14 receivers on their depth chart in the last preseason game.
Want to hear something funny?
What's that?
They just signed Juju Smith-Schuster this morning or yesterday.
I'm not surprised. I mean, he's played with them before. He was a big reason why they won. So I'm not surprised.
How many wide receivers do you need?
Well, that means that Kadarius Toney's probably going to get cut.
Yeah.
If he hasn't already. I haven't paid attention to it. So
yeah.
Let's see what Dan had to say here.
You depth or role players, you know. The other thing is special teams. How much do they bring in on special teams? I don't know. It's tough to say. So it'll all come into play.
Dan, I mean, if you don't have that, if you don't have a guy that you can throw a back shoulder ball to or can trust to high point the football, does that limit your then schematics in any way?
No, I don't believe that. I mean, we will always be able to, with what we've got on this roster, you know, Ben does a hell of a job of making sure that we put guys in position to have success, you know, and man, let our guys go win and whatever it takes to allow them to do that. So, no, I wouldn't say it limits us, but like any offense or defense, man, give us everything, right? If you can have it all, then you can use it all. But no, it's not going to limit what we do. It would be a luxury to have.
That smile, that look by Dan there, you know, we can have it all, you know, give us everything. I love it because he wants it all. And he knows, look, Dan's not stupid. He knows if you give him, you know, just the keys to the kingdom for a moment and he could go out and get whatever he wanted to get for this team, he's going to make us a Super Bowl winner. He knows that. I think that Dan is so much smarter than your average bear here, right? No pun intended, broski. But I think that Dan's looking for a big body receiver. I think you can tell that deep down he really wants one.
It helps, and I think a lot of it is it comes into those one-on-ones, you know, to where, okay, you don't always have to be in these cut splits, man. You can just get out there and it's one-on-one. And if you like the matchup, who cares if he's pressed? Our guy's going to beat your guy. And Goff put it in a position where he can play rebound. He can play big boy. He's in the box and down on the block and is going to make a play for you.
Quarterbacks, what is your they all have very limited experience. What is your confidence level if they had to step in game one right away, Goff goes down early, to take over for Goff, still operate the offense successfully, and then even maybe start the next game?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think honestly, I feel like, and this includes Fromm. I mean, they've all shown something a little bit different. I mean, look, let's start with Hooker. You want to know, like, plain and simple, it's hard for me to just jump right in let's just jump right in and say, man, you feel great at number 2. I think of him as, is he growing? Like, literally, that's where my mind goes first is he growing? Is he developing? Yes, he is. He got better. All right, because he got reps. All right, that's good. Nate, for the most part, has done what we've asked him to do. You know, there's a couple of decisions here and there, but we know what he is. He's been around the system now going on 3 years. And then Fromm, like we said, comes in 8 days, doesn't get any practice reps, and functions like a high-level quarterback, with limited snaps. So it's hard to ignore that. And so to answer your question, yeah.
Please tell me that means that Jake from State Farm is going to make this team. What do you think, Eric?
I supremely hope that Nate Suckfeld is cast off into the sun and Jake Fromm from State Farm is our new third string quarterback.
Wow, man, that's a little harsh, dude. Into the sun?
Into the sun. Gone. See you later.
That's pretty harsh, man. That's no way to treat your Detroit Lions.
Listen, he's got to go. A 9-year veteran cannot come in and look the way he looked in 2 games. I think that's why he didn't play in the third preseason game. He was so bad that they were finally like, you know what? We're just going to let this Jake kid play, and he doesn't even know the playbook. You know, we haven't ran a single play with him. All he was doing was shagging balls for other people and doing basic stuff. So he had to learn the playbook all on his own. He didn't even get to practice with anybody any plays. And he went in and played the whole second half of the fourth quarter, 6 of 8 for almost 100 yards, and sealed the game for us. The kid deserves to be on the roster, whether it's on the practice squad or the 53. He deserves to stick around.
So, Joseph Ostin, this is a great question or statement by you, however you mean it. But how much of the Johnson offense is Campbell? So I've been arguing this. There's a sector or faction of fans that believe that if Ben Johnson leaves, we're screwed. I do not believe that. I think that people have forgotten that Dan Campbell, when he fired, the offensive coordinator and took over, that's when our offense started to have success. It was Dan Campbell's offense. What was his name? Anthony Lynn. That was who we fired, right? Anthony Lynn. So Dan Campbell takes over, and that's when, like I said, the offense starts to have success. This isn't just Ben's offense. This is Dan Campbell's offense with Ben Johnson's fingerprints. Together, they work together. But if you don't think that Dan Campbell knows everything about this offense, I think that you would be lying to yourself, because Dan does. He's an offensive guy. He's been around some of the best offensive minds in the game. And clearly that's why this offense is having success too. And I'm not taking anything away from Ben, because Ben has done an amazing job. But I do believe that what you're seeing is the product of Dan Campbell and his vision that Ben Johnson has been kind of allowed to run away with a little bit and put his fingerprints on it. But together, I think that this is definitely a Dan Campbell offense. What am I seeing here about political stuff? What happened?
Yeah, no political posts.
Where I don't see it. Did it get removed?
I didn't see it either. Must have got taken off.
Yeah, just make sure it gets taken off.
I will say this about Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson's offense. Dan Campbell, this is his brainchild, and if forced to, today, Brad could be our coach / offensive coordinator and call plays, just like Andy Reid. He could do it. I don't think he would have any problem whatsoever doing it, but he knows he's a better coach overall as a head coach if he has someone else do the play calling. And that's why he transferred everything over to Ben Johnson. And he was very much a huge part of bringing Ben Johnson along, because Ben Johnson was a tight ends coach and some other things before that, but small time roles. So I really believe that Dan Campbell is 80% of this offense was because of Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, there's zero tolerance policy for political posts in these. Like, we don't do that. We're here to enjoy football. So it's zero tolerance. I mean, it could be immediate ban if I feel like people are just doing it to do it. Just go vote the way you want to vote. We don't care. We don't want to hear about it. It's just, this is football.
It's Lions.
Yeah.
Football.
So I think we'll move on from Dan right after his next message right here.
I would feel comfortable. We'll find a way to get out of the game. That's why you play with 3 phases. So we'll find a way to do what we need to do, and then we'll go into the next week and set it up to where. Were there any surprises on that front? No, not negative surprise, not a positive surprise. No, everybody was out there that we talked about, that I mentioned. Man, it was good to have them out there too. You know, we got them out. It was about an hour. We let them compete against each other, a couple of team periods, individuals, so guys can get worked in, and it was just kind of pushing their heart rate a little bit, but it was good. You know, it was just to see like Laporta out there, part of the flow, and Gibbs, and, you know, Rodrigo's worked in, Zeitler's out there. It was, and Reeder, you know, I mean, that's our first, even though it's walkthrough in Indy, just to have him out there. And, you know, he is a big man. He's a big man. He and Mac over there together, you know, Mac's going to need to do more squats. If he wants to keep up with Reeder. So anyway, it's a good looking crew, and it's good to have all our guys working together.
That's all I wanted to hear. I just wanted to hear that part.
You know,
I'm super excited about the dynamic duo of Aleem, the Dream, and DJ Reeder. The fact that Dan just said Aleem is going to have to do more squats to keep up. I can't wait to see these guys play together, man. It's going to be an extremely awesome moment when these guys step on the field together and you just watch complete domination in front of you. Offensive lines are going to be so frustrated with this defensive line. I mean, has anyone really ever just sat back and thought, like, take your best DJ Reeder play, take your best Aleem McNeil play, your best Aiden Hutchinson play, go find your best Marcus Davenport play out of the, you know, from a couple seasons ago, and combine them all together. That's what you're about to witness on Sundays or Sunday nights or Mondays or Thursdays, because we get to play on all days. Thursdays, yeah. Thanksgiving, you name it. Complete domination is what's about to happen with this defensive line. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. How excited are you to see DJ Reeder get to work?
Listen, man. Yesterday, a couple of tweets came out that DJ Reeder might be ready for week 2. And then just shortly after that, some more tweets come out that say, well, Reeder might be ready for week 1. How amazing would that be? Even if he can come out and play for first and second down on the first game, you know, or just come in for a couple of series and get his feet wet. It's going to be amazing to watch that all come together, because I think individually our defensive line, if they had to do it all themselves, might not be the absolute best, but you put all 4 of those guys together, Hutch, Aleem, Reeder, and Davenport, man, is this thing going to be dangerous. It's going to be absolute fantastic fun to watch. And just like Coach DC said, maybe a top 9 to 12 defense if we can get this all put together with our cornerbacks.
No cuts, guys. No cuts yet.
Nothing. Yeah.
Everything's updated as of about 10 minutes ago. No new cuts. So maybe they're sleeping in this morning. I don't know.
I keep looking. I keep refreshing the pages.
Long breakfast, I guess, for the Lions this morning to kind of figure out, you know, what's about to happen here. But this is kind of what we expected. You know, this is not easy. There's plenty of amazing players still left that you're going to have to move off of, and I don't think that's an easy process. Here's what I also believe is, you know, you cut a few guys yesterday, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but if they are waiver worthy, then they just have to get through 24 hours. You have to get through the waiver wire process. And if nobody makes a claim, then the Lions can go back and you know, put these guys on the practice squad. So they might be waiting to see, you know, which guys bounce back to them, you know, before they make, you know, specific cuts. I don't know. It's just a guess. It's a thought. But DJ Reeder potentially coming back week 1, just like you were talking about, allegedly, right? Reportedly that It's possible. To me, that like I said yesterday too, what happened in the matter of a week? We went from he's not coming back anytime soon. There's no timetable. Had a cleanups, surgery or whatever in June, and minor setback, and then all of a sudden he's off the list and he's coming back.
But Will, you know what's different about the preseason? They can lie to us. They can say whatever they want in the preseason.
Well, they didn't really say anything.
Yeah, but there is no injury report until week 1. So they can come up with whatever they want. They can say whatever they want. They can do whatever they want because they don't have to report it.
Yeah, I get all that. But tell me how that would benefit a team that if DJ Reader was really that healthy, that he's not practicing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to do the camp. There's a lot of veterans that don't want to do camp, man.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. I think that he would love to have been out there practicing with the guys because that's how you're going to be able to develop as a team. If you really want to win something, you need that camp. You need some time together. And the Lions would have brought him back slowly. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like he can just go out there and just do what he wants to do. He's got to follow what the team plan and the trainer's plan is. You're under contract, so I don't see how that would benefit us. I really don't. I feel like it's kind of awkward. The way that it's transpired. I'm not mad at the fact that he could be coming back early, but this whole time it's making you feel like, all right, we won't have this guy till week 6. That's fine. No big deal. We'll get through it. We're deep. And then bang, all of a sudden in 48 hours, oh, he's coming back and he might be ready by week 1. He's going to be ready in 2 weeks, but he hasn't played a snap yet. That seems odd to me. That seems odd to me.
Yeah,
I don't trust it. Let's put it that way. I don't trust it.
Somebody in the chat says Jedi mind control.
Oh man,
this isn't the practice you're looking for.
All right, we spoke about Tim Patrick. We kind of recapped the day 1 cuts to a degree. Who's next? Who is next to be removed from this Lions team?
Oh man,
who is next? So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull up Lions sheet here. Got quarterbacks. You still have 4 of them. Based on what's happened and what's been said, are you still in the boat that we're keeping 3?
On which one?
Quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks? No, I think we're going to keep 2. And then Fromm will be cut and he'll be exposed to waivers. And we'll bring him back on the practice squad.
I don't know if Fromm has to hit waivers. I don't know. When did he?
He's been around for a while.
Yeah, then he wouldn't have to do waivers.
Oh, okay. Still got to wait till Wednesday afternoon to put him on the practice squad.
I don't remember when he was brought in. 2020, so 20, 21, 22, 23. So this would be his 5th season?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have to clear waivers. As long as he has at least 3 years of accrued time in the NFL, he would be able to pick where he wants to go. So I'm still thinking that the Lions move on from Sudfeld. Maybe they bring him back. Maybe they don't. I definitely think they're going to do everything that they can to keep Jake Fromm. At least based on what Dan Campbell said. So I'm just pure emotional attachment to Jake Fromm based on what Dan Campbell said. Running backs. You still have 6 on the roster. Zonovan Knight was the only one that was cut. From the bottom to the top, yep, Jake Funk is gone. Jamar Jefferson's going to be gone. The Lions are keeping 4. Are you still thinking the Lions are going to keep 3 or 4?
Yep. No difference. So, yeah, it's going to be Demo, Gibbs, Reynolds, and Vaki. Everybody else, see you later. We might have you come back to the practice squad.
Okay. Wide receiver. From the bottom to the top, the Lions have waived Caden Davis and released Donovan Peoples-Jones. John Calhoun, Tom Kennedy, Maurice Alexander. I think that those guys are gone. And the Lions are going to keep Fountain, Williams, Raymond, Williams, and Brown.
See, I differ there. I think Fountain is down the road. But
You don't think he's going to be kept?
No, I don't. But maybe initially he might be kept. But a week from today, I don't think he's on the roster.
Well, I mean, that's a possibility, but all we're talking about is today.
Yeah. Today he may slide in today. Maybe. I think that might have been, wow, God, I did so much. I'm done.
Yeah, but he would have already been let go. That's the thing. Like, they don't get cut and then like it's announced way later. You know what I mean?
Lions cut Stephen Gilmore, apparently.
Yeah, I expected that one.
So let's look back there.
So here's the thing for me with the receivers. Just like I said with DPJ was going to be a default roster position. I think that Darius Fountain is that default roster position now because there's nobody else on this roster that matches his size. So by default, I think that he makes it. That was the same thing I said about DPJ. It's not that I wanted him on the roster. I just felt like the Lions are not going to not keep 5. Nobody stepped up, so they're definitely not going to keep 6, in my opinion. But I think it's still Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Isaiah Williams, who's been my lock for several weeks. And I think now Darius Fountain is your default wide receiver that still has some stuff to prove. Did the sheet get updated?
Which sheet?
Yeah, Stephen Gilmore is now crossed off the list.
Yep. Yeah, it's official. He's released. I looked it up before.
So tight end, you've got 5 still on the roster. You've got Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Parker Hess, James Mitchell, Sean McKeon, Shane Zielstra. Out of all players, was cut yesterday.
Yeah.
Before Sean McKeon.
Just strange.
It is strange, but then again, what have I been saying about Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes? I think that they do things with intent. I think that they threw Shane Zielstra to the Wolves early to see if he was going to stick and come back.
Yep.
And if he was going to stick and come back, that then they're going to keep 3 and park somebody on the practice squad right away.
Yeah. We just hit 100 likes for the 6th day in a row.
Congratulations, everybody. Remember, it's not just for us. Like, it's for you guys too. You guys are part of these shows, and everything that we do is for you anyway. This is probably one of the only channels, when you look at any Lions content, I'm not being negative towards anyone else out there, but we give away a ton of stuff, like thousands of dollars worth of, stuff. And we do that because we try to be the bridge of, to bridge that gap between the fan and the team, and try to give you something to look forward to, not just the content, but, maybe get your little slice of the Lions from Rocked On Detroit Lions. And whether we're giving away Uperlite stuff or Lions merch or helmets, tickets, jerseys, I gave away, I don't know what, $1,500 worth of jerseys already this year, all the brand new jerseys. All of that stuff has a beneficial impact for the Rocked On Cancer Foundation too. So that's why we do these things. That's my number one goal, is to help others and celebrate our Detroit Lions at the same time. So I think it's kind of fun and unique that I get to do that. And I'm very appreciative of the fact that I get to do it with all of your support. Tight end, like I said, I think we're keeping Sam and Brock. I mean, I hope, right? Parker Hess,
roster.
Yeah, Parker Hess. I can't imagine, right now that he's not on this roster. But then there's this case of James Mitchell that I made this morning. Like, this is year 3. Maybe Brad Holmes is going to give James one more shot and Parker gets cut. So who do you think is cut out of the tight ends?
I think our tight ends are going to be Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, and Parker Hess. I think that's it. I think those 3 guys, in my mind, make the most sense. Maybe he's just waiting till last minute with James Mitchell. Maybe it's like a a strategy thing. Maybe he's waiting for the last minute with him because it's more of a strategy thing. I don't know. I have no clue. But I think we're going to stick with 3.
Casey, I see your comment, but I'm not going to highlight it just because I just don't want to be put in that box. But I hear you. We hear a lot of stuff. Yeah, you would think that, other channels out there that definitely have way more funds would be doing more, but they don't.
Hey, Casey, I saw your comment earlier, and yes, I am keeping the Canadian border clear and keeping all the Uber lights going where they're supposed to go.
Oh, jeez.
He had a good comment earlier.
Border Patrol Bob.
Yeah, that's me. I'm on it.
That's funny. So Sam Laporta, Brock Wright. Man, I really would rather see Parker Hess on this roster than James Mitchell, but I'm going to leave it at those two, and Shane Zielstra comes back.
Oh, really?
On the practice squad, and maybe the Lions are just going to look somewhere else. I don't know.
So you think Parker Hess is going to get axed?
Look, I think that Parker Hess, he just offers so much more to this team that James Mitchell has not shown us yet.
Yep.
But I guess I can understand too where it's his 3rd season, and maybe we'll see more out of James, but that's the question. You know, like Dan was saying earlier or yesterday, what are these guys able to do in special teams? Is James Mitchell a special teamer? Is he really out there, creating havoc on I don't think that he really is. I don't even know how many special teams snaps that James has had. I can't even think of when I've seen him out there.
Yeah.
But Parker Hess is a hell of a blocker, man. Like, that guy can block. And I think that there's a little bit of a competition probably between Parker and Rodrigo to see who's lining up at that H-back position more often than not. I don't know. I'm lost in the tight ends. After Zielstra was cut, I'm kind of lost. Like, I just don't know what they're doing. So, offensive tackle. We have, so Roger, you want a list? Here, I can put the list up right here. Just give me 1 second. I'll switch out screens.
Yeah. He's just wondering if you can put up a list so
here you go.
Kind of follow along. There we go.
Here, I'll go back to the beginning. I think this is prior to Detroit's list. So we have 77 players left on the roster, 24 remaining decisions. Here, let me make it a little easier to see here. 1 second.
Superintendent Chalmers, yes, I have heard that Hutch has been beating Sewell in their one-on-ones. He's also been beating Sewell every once in a while in 11-on-11s. And I guess Hutch is having just one hell of a camp this year and is a man on a mission and an absolute beast at the left position.
All right, can you see it now?
Oh, yeah, that looks good.
All right.
My phone.
So we have 77 players on the roster, 24 remaining decisions. We were just walking through the quarterbacks. Obviously, I still believe it's Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker, and Jake Fromm comes back. Clearly, it's Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Craig Reynolds, and Sione Vaki. I definitely think that they're keeping 4 here. Could be surprised today. Jamar Jefferson and Jake Funk have yet to be cut. Wide receivers. You still have 8 on the roster. Monroe St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, Isaiah Williams, I would think are locks. And on the outs would be Jalon Calhoun, Tom Kennedy, Maurice Alexander, and Darius Fountain, of which I believe Darius Fountain is in by default. The Lions keep 5. And the default is because they're probably still looking for an answer with all the cuts to see if there's somebody else that is a little bit more talented or maybe has more experience than what Darius Fountain does. But we'll see. I mean, Darius has been kind of up and down, but I think his body of work and, his hustle during practice is probably speaking more volumes than not to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. Tight end, you still have 5 on the roster: Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Parker Hess, James Mitchell, and Sean McKeon. I'm very surprised that Sean McKeon was not cut before Shane Zielstra. But again, if you follow what I'm putting down here, I think that Shane was put out to pasture early to see what bounces back. And they want to see if there's an opportunity to bring him back if he's going to, clear waivers. I'm not sure how many years of service Shane Zielstra has. I don't know how many accrued seasons he has. So he may not even need to clear waivers. And there could be that, hey, I'm not going to sign anywhere else. I want to come back to you kind of deal. So we'll see. Offensive tackle, the Lions still have 6. You have Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell, Dan Skipper, Kobe, Sorsdahl, Giovanni Manu, and Jamarco Jones. I'm almost thinking that all 6 of them are probably solid right now. Jamarco would be the only one that would be on his way out. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I think Jamarco Jones is gone. Other than that, the rest of the group, that's our keepers.
Yeah, so Casey just confirmed Zielstra was cut, not waived. So he doesn't have to clear waivers or anything. He can just come back. He's just not going to sign anywhere else potentially. I just couldn't remember how many years of service that he had. So Jamarco Jones, did he do enough in that second preseason game to show the Lions that he can play? Because he didn't play at all against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I agree.
Interior offensive line, you've got Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, Kevin Zietler, Coyote Awosika, Michael Neese, Kingsley Aguakun, and Duke Clemens and Jake Burton. Already cut, Brian Hudson or waived, and then Christian Mahogany placed on NFI reserve, so he could still come back, but it's going to be several weeks before Christian Mahogany probably makes it back to this roster in a playing capacity. So hold on here.
I think the bottom 4 of those are going to be cut there. So Jake Burton, Clemens, Agikwan, and Neese, I think, are all going to be cut candidates today. Just my 2 cents.
Who was that?
The bottom 4, Jake Burton, Duke Clemens, Kingsley, and Neese, I think, are all gone. All right, let's see what's going on here.
So this would have been the 3rd season for Shane Zielstra. So if that's the case, then I'm winding back to that because you have to have 3 years of accrued service in the NFL. If he's in his 3rd season, then that doesn't mean that he's had 3 seasons yet. So he would have been waived, right? Is that my understanding here?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there we go. They are subject to waivers. So Casey got us all screwed up this morning. It's all right, Casey. Frank Ragnow, Graham Glasgow, Kevin Zietler, Coyote, I believe, are all safe. Michael Neese and Kingsley, practice squad players, hopefully. I think Duke Clemens, Jake Burton will be the next to go. And I mean, you could see Duke potentially come back to the practice squad, but I just don't know how many spots do you really need to fill with offensive linemen? I would say at least, two or 3. You probably want at least one of each, guard, a tackle, and a center, or, maybe a couple of guards that can play tackle, or vice versa. I'd say you want at least 3, if not 4 offensive linemen probably on your practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that there's a case for Kingsley. That would give the Lions 5 interior, and that would give them 6 or 5, tackles. Yep. And then you still have Christian Mahogany, so that'd give them 10 or 11 total. That could be a bit heavy. I guess we'll find out here in a few hours.
Yep.
Defensive tackle, Lee McNeil, DJ Reader. Well, I think we know the answer there. Levi O, Kyle Pecco, Broderick Martin, Mekhi Wingo. I think they're all safe except for Chris Smith. I mean, who are you cutting?
I agree. Yeah, that room's stacked and has to stay that way because we have to have depth. We have to have depth, and there it is, right there, staring us in the face.
Defensive end, you've got Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal, James Houston, Isaac Ukwu, Matthew Betts, Matty Betts, Natty Ice, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
I think all those guys are safe.
Mm-hmm.
John Kaminsky is expected to go on IR today with the expectation that he could come back. That could change. Two early cuts were Pat O'Connor and Mitchell Agood. So Mitchell Agood was a surprising cut to me. And the reason is he probably had one of the better camps out of anybody. Like complete head scratcher here.
He was our leading tackler.
Now he is somebody that has to clear waivers. So
Yep.
again, is this a Brad move? You know, let's throw this guy out there early while everyone's, too wrapped up in figuring out their own rosters that they might forget about these guys that they're out there. And Mitchell can come back to the practice squad, at some point later on this afternoon. I think that that's the case here. I think that Mitchell will be back. Linebackers, are you comfortable with all those guys making the rosters? So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd have 6, right?
For now, but like yesterday, I didn't have Mr. Betts on there. I took him off. But looking at it today, we might need some more depth. So Matty Ice makes it today.
So Hostage 42 says, Will, before you had to cut Betts for a mathematical error, has that changed? Yeah. So something that I did, this is not my list. Let me see where my list is. So on my list, I had Aiden, Mitchell, Josh Paschal, Marcus Davenport, James Houston, Isaac Ukwu. And now that Mitchell's gone, that makes way for Matty Betts. On my list for DT, I had Lee McNeil, DJ Reader, Levi O, Kyle Pecco, Mekhi Wingo, Broderick Martin. So that list hasn't changed with defensive tackle. Chris Smith, I think he's on the outs, but I took Mitchell Agood there in the last waning moments over Matty Betts. And I was bringing Matty Betts back to the practice squad, which is probably not going to happen. If Matty Betts hits the street, he's not coming back. I don't believe anyway. But now that Mitchell Agood has been cut, that just paved the way for Betts. But I also had Rodriguez going to IR potentially because we just don't know enough of what's going on with his injury.
He's back at practice.
Huh?
Rodrigo was back at practice yesterday.
Right. But of course, my list came out before that,
Yep, exactly. It's tough to do when we have zero intel on whether these guys are injured or not.
Well, the last report that I had from Rodriguez was that they were considering, whether he was going to be able to come back or not.
Yep.
So is what it is. Can't hit them all. Linebackers, you've got Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, Jalen Reese-Maben, Ben Nyman, Abraham Beauplan, and Joel Iwi. They cut Ty Summers early. Could be a practice squad candidate. See, I kept Anzalone, Campbell, Barnes, Maben, and Nyman with who knows what was going to happen with Rodriguez, but it sounds like Rodriguez is back and he's fine. So this could mean that maybe I would drop a corner or a safety. again, I don't know what's going on with if Etu Melifonwu. So without knowing what's happening with these guys, it's hard to really predict. But if I were to go based on this list right now, I'd say the top 3 are safe. And I would say Jalen and Ben are probably safe. I think that there's going to be a dogfight between Malcolm Rodriguez and Abraham Beauplan. I think that Abraham did enough that he's definitely going to come back as a practice squad option. Maybe. But again, this is another guy that I don't believe has to clear waivers. I can't remember how many years he's been in the league. And no, this is his first season. So who was it that had all of the history? The linebacker. Was that Joel?
Yeah.
Is Joel the one that was the Chicago Bear? Or the Seattle Seahawk, I mean?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he's been Joel. So Joel's been in the league since 2018. So he's the one that wouldn't have to clear waivers. Abraham would. So who are you taking out of linebackers that are left?
So Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Rodrigo, Jalen Reeves, Maben, and that's going to make me cut Ben Nyman. And then Abraham's out and Joel is out.
What is this that I'm seeing? Mike P says Mitchell get cut. I must have missed that. Mitchell Agood? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, he was cut yesterday.
Yeah, so linebackers, I got Anzalone, Campbell, Maben, Nyman, Barnes. Didn't know what was going on with Rodriguez. I mean, I like Rodrigo. Don't take it the wrong way. I like what he does, but I think that Rodrigo was one of those guys. Remember what I was saying earlier in the show today? When you're looking for guys in the very beginning, you're looking for multiples, right? What can you do on the defense? What can you do on special teams? What can you help me with? Where can I put you if you're not a starter? And then Rodriguez comes in and he's, I mean, heads and shoulders above the linebacker room mentally because he knew where to be. It wasn't so much his play. It was he knew where to be. And that's a big part of this. It's mostly mental, not physical. He had the physical gifts, but if you're not in the right place at the right time, you can't use your physical gifts. So he outplayed everybody mentally in his first season. And that's why Rodrigo got a lot of play. But now that room is starting to, catch up and surpass Rodrigo. To guys like Anzalone and Jack Campbell, that threw a big wrench in it for Rodrigo because they played the same position. And I think that Malcolm is a little bit small to be on the outside, to be honest with you. He's barely 6 foot tall. I don't see how that's beneficial as an outside linebacker that needs to cover, bigger tight ends. So I think the Lions are probably looking for, someone a little bit bigger, just like they're trying to find someone for that wide receiver room. They can be a little bit picky. So I don't know if Rodriguez is in or not. I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I think that if you look at who we have available right now, you could make an argument for Beauplan because of what he did in the last preseason game. But it's probably a little bit, too late. Too little, too late.
But what do Brad and Dan want out of their players more than anything else?
Well, they got to be they got to be Detroit guys, through and through.
And they want to be able to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
So the players that they trust are the players that come back year after year after year. And that might be one thing where Brad, that's why he sticks with his draft picks so much, because he trusts them. And Rodrigo was a draft pick, 6th round, came in the first year, was forced into a starting position, and then last year got to not be in the starter position and actually did a few more things, lining us up as an H-back, doing a bunch of special teams work and doing some dirty work at the linebacker position. Even had a interception last year. So He can fill in when needed at linebacker. So I have no problem bringing Rodrigo right back. The only reason I did not have him on my list yesterday was because I thought he was going to be going on IR. But if he's back at practice yesterday, he should be good to go.
Haas's 4-2 wonders if Vaki can fill two positions of need, running back and DB, but only one body. And would that mean that we would keep somebody that we normally would not? And I think that that's a great question. And I think that it's not really been answered this year because we haven't seen Vaki in a safety role. He's been playing on the offense and then special teams. But I would agree that when you have a guy like that is versatile, that's multiple, it does present a problem in this equation of, man, we have an extra safety that's not playing safety right now. Does that mean that we do need to keep 5 safeties versus 4? Or do we only keep 4 safeties because primarily only 4 safeties are really going to play? And now we've got Vaki that, you know, can fill that special team role for that 5th safety. It's a great question.
Well, what about this, though?
What's that?
What about this? What if they take Iffy and they put him on PUP? Okay. So he's gone for at least the first 4 weeks of the season. And they have Vaki as their emergency safety. So they don't have to fill that spot that Iffy would have been taking for that 4 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with Iffy. There's Iffy is iffy right now.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they already stuffed Emmanuel Mosley on IR, that one, it just really blew my mind. Like, I'm sorry. They have stuck way too. Does Emmanuel Mosley have pictures? Because why does he keep getting brought back? And look, I understand that he, you know, at one point was a really damn good corner. But 2 ACLs and a pec later, the guy hasn't played ball in 3 years by the time he comes back. 3 years. If I aged 3 years, man, that would be old. What does that do for a football player that's not playing football? You kind of lose that muscle memory, don't you?
Yeah.
You know? So I don't get it. I really don't get it. Cornerback, though, you've got Carlton Davis, Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, Ennis Rakestraw. Those 4 are definitely locks. Khalil Dorsey, Kendall Vildor. I think they make this roster. I think the Lions keep 6.
Yep.
I do love what Essang Basie did, though, in this last week and a half, however long it's been since he's been on the roster. Like, he came in and just started putting it down right away. So I did like what he brought into this team. The fact that the Lions cut Stephen Gilmore, I'm not surprised. They'll probably try to sneak him back on the practice squad tomorrow. I didn't even know who Rashad Wild Goose was. And then Javelin Goudry, don't know enough about him. Didn't see enough from him. Where are you at on this portion of the roster?
I'm just super bummed that Wild Goose got cut. Man, I wanted to get a Wild Goose jersey so bad.
You still can. You can make any jersey you want.
I know. But that's my thoughts on all that.
So are you keeping Carlton, Terrion, Robertson, Rakestraw, and who else?
Yeah, Khalil Dorsey and Vildor. Yep. Basie and Goudry, they're gone.
Okay, so you're keeping 6. Safety, you got Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Efetu Melifonwu, who we have no clue what's going on right here. Brandon Joseph, Lauren Strickland, CJ Moore, Chalen Garnt. Surprised that Chalen has not been cut yet or waived. I think that there is a small battle going on between Lauren Strickland and CJ Moore. I think that only one of these 2 guys makes the roster at this point. I'd say that these 2 are safe. Brandon Joseph is safe. If he has to go to some sort of a list to start the season, okay. Then I think that both of these guys make the roster. especially when you look at who's been cut already. I mean, this whole Mitchell Lagood thing, that cut, that to me opened up a window. If they cut one more guy that was supposed to, in our opinion, make this roster, then like Shane Zielstra, I think that opens the door for another player that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
So that's your update on the latest news for your roster as of 9:40 this morning. That's what we have.
I think Dan and Brad are in the office right now, bringing guys down, and I think they're literally doing rock, paper, scissors to see who they're going to cut, dude. This is so slim and so close. I don't remember a preseason like this where it's this hard to decide those last 3 or 4 spots on the roster, and that's what they're doing. You know, maybe 5 or 6 roster spots, but it's just down to the wire. How do you choose who you're going to keep?
Yeah,
You know, it's so close. This is by far has to be the most difficult decisions they've ever done. And if you know Dan Campbell, this dude is taking each one of these guys, sitting them down, having a conversation with them, and bawling his eyes out for each one of these guys because he knows they have it in them to play in his system and to be a player for the Detroit Lions, but they just don't have room for them. You know, just imagine how difficult these conversations are that they have to have today. You know, we're pretty lighthearted about it, talking about it, but you got to remember, these are real people in real situations, and it has to be so difficult to do this. So I was a boss at a casino. I had 60-something employees, and I had to fire people before. And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, was sit someone down and say, hey, bud, you just don't cut it here. You don't fit here for what we're trying to do. I have to let you go.
You gave him the rake, huh?
Yeah, somebody that's got 2 little kids in diapers at home, and they're, struggling to pay their rent, and their car just broke down. And
you're a jerk.
And their girlfriend left them, and you have to fire them, dude. That
sounds like a personal story.
It is, and it sucks, man. And you have to do it sometimes. Sometimes you have to step up, and you have to be the boss. And you're friends with all these people. You know, you get relationships with these people, and you build bonds with these players. So I totally understand Dan Campbell getting emotional, having to basically fire 30 guys off the roster. Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. And I know some of them you can bring back, and some of them will come back at a later date. Some of them might come back next year or the year after. You never know. And some guys might just come back next year and try again. But man, those are some difficult decisions. And I know we make light of it, but just remember, these are all human beings with families, with kids, with stories. And this is a very, very difficult day for Brad and Dan.
Let's see here. There's a full list of all the cuts here. So far, the Arizona Cardinals have only cut 3 players. The Atlanta Falcons.
Whew, they're busy.
Yeah, let me try to fix this here.
There you go.
The Atlanta Falcons, I mean, they've been active. They're about halfway there. But wide receiver Josh Ali, wide receiver Jakeem Grant, tight end Austin Strogner, Jordan Thomas. Really nobody else is there really exciting. Baltimore Ravens have only let 1 go. That's going to suck today. They're going to have a rash.
Yep.
All at once. I don't really see a whole lot of wide receivers coming open just yet, but someone mentioned the Texans earlier. Let's see, is there anybody interesting on the Bears coming available? I don't see it. I wouldn't mind picking up somebody from the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings.
For the practice squad?
For anything.
Oh, okay.
Just because then you can, you get a little bit of information about what that team's doing. I didn't know Rocky Lombardi was still playing football. This Matt Landers one is still intriguing to me. Like I'm surprised he didn't even make the Browns. But then again, I don't have the information that the NFL has on these guys. Like they know more about you than you know about yourself. So this isn't right. That's clearly not up to snuff here.
No.
CBS is behind.
Because that doesn't have Scott Daly or Ty Summers, a whole bunch of them missing there.
Well, let me see if I can find one that's a little bit more up to date. I want to see if there's anybody that's been cut without having to pull in Twitter. I just want to see the Texans, to be honest with you. That's all I want to look at.
Yeah, it's amazing. We still haven't cut any more people. I figured they'd be trickling in kind of slowly today, but I figured we'd get a few of them while the show was going on.
Yeah, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But usually after the noon hour, we start to see a little bit of movement because they got to get down and hurry.
Because they have till 4 o'clock today, correct?
Eastern, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And everything has to be sent to the NFL and all the rosters have to be complete. Yeah, I'm not even seeing anything from the Texans right now.
They've got some hard decisions to make. I think every team does.
They have one cut. Ageem McTelvin, defensive tackle. That's all that's being reported on their website. So I'm not really seeing a whole lot from there. So anyway, that's really about it. What else does anybody want to talk about today? We got about 12 minutes or less. I guess we can go through the chat. I don't know if you've seen anything in there, but Packers just cut Anders Carlson. The new kicker in Green Bay is Greg Joseph. Is that what you're saying there, Superintendent Chalmers? Vikings kicker last year. Okay. Teams will definitely look at our backup O-line. I don't know what for. I think our backup O-line is probably one of the worst positions we have on this team, to be honest with you. Hakeem Butler, yep, he's still available. I don't know how sold I am on him. Michael Lukey says Noah Sewell is potentially on the bubble. He'd be great on the practice squad. Not sure if we'd have room in the linebacker room for him, though. I don't think we'd have room. I would be surprised that Noah Sewell would be on the bubble. He was just drafted last year.
Yeah.
I would be real surprised if he was on the bubble.
So I found something very funny yesterday about one of our rivals, that the Green Bay Packers traded a 7th-round pick for Malik Willis. Do you remember all the people? Do you remember all the people in the draft clamoring for Malik Willis? And I was like, no. And he was awful. He was absolutely awful. So I don't know what they think they're getting in Malik Willis. The Tennessee Titans didn't even want him. And why they would pay a 7th-round pick for him, he's not worth a pick at all. They would have cut him without having to. You could have had him for free, Packers.
Maybe. Michael Garrity says, I got to say, rise and grind is now my favorite part of each day. You know what's the best part of my morning? Is waking up with something other than Folgers in your cup and you guys. So that's the best part of my morning. Matter of fact, the best part of my day is rise and grind coffee beans in the morning. Rockin' Beans is coming soon. It'll be here shortly. We'll have a few different blends for you guys. That's the best part of waking up for me. I think I got 3 hours of sleep last night.
Yeah, right on.
Al Torrey says, I don't know what's going on, man. I can't sleep. Gilmore got cut. Yeah, we saw that. Malik Willis just talked about that. Tim Patrick, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Zach's Ion. I don't know. I guess to revisit Tim Patrick again, I would say this. Injuries that he had the pedal Achilles this last year and the Achilles the year before, both the same leg. So knee, and then the pedal Achilles is the back of the foot there. Major injuries, grade 3s, grade 2s, major injuries. That's my only worry. The Lions need someone that can produce. They need someone that can fill a role, being that 5th, 6th potential wide receiver, 5th for sure. I don't think bringing in a guy that's full of injuries is the answer, but I guess that's Brad Holmes' MO at the same time. But I don't know if that's really the MO this year. Like, I think that we might see a change in the way that Brad Holmes is going to bring guys in. Now, he brought in DJ Reader because DJ Reader was expected to be able to play this year. And that is a massive move. Like, that is an immediate upgrade. When he's even half healthy is an upgrade over what we had last year. So I don't see Brad Holmes bringing in a bunch of injured guys. I mean, we are ready to press the gas and go for, a Super Bowl run here. And I want to see Brad Holmes with that mindset that it's time to press the gas at least a little bit. If you need an X receiver, spend the ducats and go out there and go get one. Even if the guy gets 30 balls the entire year, who cares? Like, go get somebody you can trust. And that's why it was so important to keep Josh Reynolds, because he's a guy that you could trust. Albeit one game, 2 passes, 1 pass, one game. But the rest of the season, you could trust him.
All right, Will. So I got a choice for you. Tim Patrick or Michael Thomas? You're the GM. Which one are you taking?
So Michael Thomas is kind of weird, right? Because he's got a ton of injuries too. And he's had very similar injuries to Tim Patrick. Very similar over the last few seasons. The difference is this is Michael Thomas. He was on a Hall of Fame rise. Tim Patrick, not so much. Michael Thomas can blend into any offense. Tim Patrick, still young enough that he can blend in. Michael Thomas would be one of those moves that you bring in a guy for later in the season kind of usage. You know what I mean? He's an option that could be available later. I don't know that I would bring in Michael Thomas and expect him to be able to contribute right now. When I did the video on him the other day, it was just an interesting prospect that no one's been talking about. Like, he's kind of just disappeared. Mm-hmm. He's just been in the background. No one even, I don't even know how healthy he is right now, if he's even able to play right now, how far along he is in his recovery. And so those are all the questions that would have to get answered first. Yep. If you're looking for immediate impact, I would say neither of them. If you're looking for someone that, could potentially join this roster and be available later on in the season, Michael Thomas, depending on the price.
My opinion is either one of them, if they can get 1 to 2 catches a game, that's all we need. We need that one contested ball catch in the back of the end zone in the corner over a safety. That's what we need. And I would be happy with either one of them, just in a limited role. I don't want to see them out there 30 plays a game. I want to see them out there 4 or 5 plays a game and get 1 ball, maybe 2 balls a game when we absolutely need something. But other than that, I think Brad maybe finally seeing that we are in a Super Bowl window, he may finally turn to F them pick guys. So what am I saying? Like when the Rams said F these picks, and they took their future picks and they started using them to win a Super Bowl. I don't know yet if Brad is ready to do that or not. We'll see coming up here very shortly whether Brad's willing to make a trade with a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. I don't believe he'll do it with a 1st or 2nd rounder unless it's for someone really, really good. Could you imagine Brad going out and spending our 1st round draft pick for next year to get a wide receiver this year?
Say that last part again.
Could you imagine if Brad Holmes took a 1st round pick for next year and went and traded for a wide receiver on another team that's really good?
Yeah, I don't think he'd ever give up a 1st round pick to do that.
I don't think he would either. I just don't think. I think the picks are too valuable to him to give away a 1st or a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, so I think that Travis Jones was just making a statement that you're thinking that the Lions would sign Sterling Shepard. I don't believe the Lions have signed any wide receiver. No. Sterling Shepard was just released. What, yesterday?
Yeah,
I think he was released yesterday from the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, he's another guy that I don't even think he would meet the size requirements.
There's going to be a ton of options coming open. A ton.
Yeah. Sterling's like 5'10". We got enough of these guys. We got enough of the short guys. Let's see here. Brent says Brad Holmes thinks he can get a top wide receiver in the 3rd or 4th round. Yeah, he probably could. I mean, we've seen plenty, that come on later in life. I mean, not everybody comes out their first season and blows the doors off. Even 1st round picks. Not every single one of them works out. Even top 10, top 15 picks don't work out all the time.
Oh.
So I think that it's definitely a little bit of luck of the draft. But doing your homework, if you're trying to fit these guys into an offensive scheme that doesn't work for them, they're not going to have success. If you're bringing them into a system that has a totally different style and method of a quarterback play that they're not used to, or that they maybe don't get along with, they're not going to have success. So I think that you have to be very careful who you bring in. The kind of guys that I think the Lions are going to be looking for are the guys that are already running a timing sort of system. And you'll see that potentially next year. I think that we'll bring in another wide receiver. I think that we have to. I really wanted to this year. But I think that you're going to have to next year. You're going to have to. And that's for multiple reasons. Jameson Williams will be entering his last season. Amon-Ra's got a very expensive contract that's going to start to come due. You're going to need to fill the pipeline. And I think that depending on what happens with Antoine Green, he's going to have to fight for a job next year. So I think next year's the year that we bring in another wide receiver and start to balance out the room a little bit.
Next year, we have to make the decision right away. Do we pick up the 5th-year option for Jameson Williams? Hot topic come the end of the season.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
Yep.
All right, it's 9:59 a.m. It's been a slow show today. It's been just kind of a conversation. There's just not a whole lot going on. Yep, Denzel Mims is back on the street. He's available. Who knows? You could see him coming back, but just like DPJ, man, Denzel Mims just didn't. I mean, he popped a little bit last year, but didn't he get injured a couple of times and then he was released?
Yeah, he was in the preseason. He got injured and then poof, he was gone.
He just didn't. He just kind of looked like,
He was doing okay for us, though.
Yeah, but it just kind of felt like he just didn't have. Like you can see it with some guys. They just get it. The ball is their life. some of these guys, it just seems like it's a job. You know, I don't know. All right. Well, I'll be back later with some breaking news as we get breaking news, or we'll do some updates throughout the day as we learn more about your Detroit Lions today and the final roster tonight. We will be going live sometime around 4 o'clock, I believe, is the plan. But we typically do not get the full roster until 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, and we'll see how quickly we get it. But any final words before we sign off for this morning?
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Once again, we hit 100 likes, and we're cruising up on 150. We're getting pretty darn close, and it's nice to see that the chat and the lives are starting to get a lot of people in, getting lots of likes. I like it. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel, and it really helps you guys, because the more you guys subscribe, the more we give away.
Yeah, pay attention for the live that's a pop-up live, because that'll be a helmet giveaway. It won't be scheduled. It'll just be a pop-up. It's not necessarily breaking news, but it'll just be a pop-up. If you guys want to become members of the channel, there's 3 different options to help this channel continue to grow. And then during the regular season in level 2, we're going to do the condensed all 22 version as a members only option to review together and kind of go play by play, or, you know, series by series, and see what we see and kind of break it down. So I do that usually the next day after the game, or 2 days later after the game. Whenever the all 22 is released, I'll get it scheduled. It just depends on when the games are. So the day changes a little bit, but that's what we're going to do each week in the regular season and the postseason. So we'll see you back tomorrow morning, but we will be back with Off the Cuff later on today, doing the follow-ups and news breaks as we hear them, especially if there's any major developments. But again, thank you again for being part of Rise and Grind Morning Show and for really showing out and helping the stream grow today. You guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people, shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future. Evolution. This is the future.